Our next guest is John Pierce. He is with Fifth Third Bank, the Financial Center Manager at Jasper Northside. Welcome to 27 Topics.
Thanks.
We're glad to have you here this morning. It is a great time to talk about credit right before we go into the fourth quarter of the year. And we need to probably look at ways to protect ourselves and how to correct our credit.
Well, one thing that we see today and more is identity theft. I mean, that's becoming a huge topic. We see that go on all the time, just even here in the small town of Jasper. One thing that happens, people get their debit card numbers, and they can use that over the internet. Pretty much just about anywhere. You can order something over the phone if they've got that phone number or that card number. So, the one thing that we try to emphasize to our customers is to, make sure that they're protecting that card, that they're not letting that number get out. One thing that we see, if somebody orders something over the internet, for the most part, it's pretty safe, but sometimes if you get with a company that's not legitimate, they've got that card number, so they can continue to charge to that account, indefinitely, basically. And we've seen that happen all too often, where we have to go in and close that card out and issue a new card. So, basically the main thing they need to do is, if they're buying something over the internet, make sure it's a reputable company, and if they're going to be buying a lot over the internet, we recommend that customers have a separate account specifically for that, just to kind of protect their own personal, their main account that they have most of their money in. So that's some of the things that we see on identity theft. When you go to Walmart or anywhere shopping, make sure that when you're inputting your PIN number, or if you're at the ATM, just making sure that nobody's around, watching you do that. So that's a couple ways to kind of help protect against that. And
you mentioned internet with credit card. I think if it's a reputable company, you have to go through a little security, and there's warning.
Yeah, I mean, most of them are pretty secure. I mean, the ones that we see a lot of, and I wouldn't really say it's identity theft. People will be purchasing, maybe magazines or actually like internet service, stuff like that. That's not really identity theft, but what happens is if they cancel these services, a lot of the time the company doesn't stop pulling the money out. So that can create a real problem, which, you're purchasing the product, so it's kind of hard not to do that. But I would recommend on things like that, either pay by check or, that's the best way that I've seen, because once they get that number, it's just sometimes they just keep continuing to charge your account. So.
The other thing outside the credit card is your bank account number.
Right. Well, most of the time, definitely protect your bank account number, but more and more people are using the debit card, which pulls right, from their checking account, and that's where we see the big problem with that. So, they don't necessarily have to have the bank account number, but they've got that debit card number, and that accesses directly to their, checking or savings account.
And it comes right out.
And it comes right out.
And more companies and people are, even small companies are going with automatic bank withdrawal type.
Yeah.
Monthly type.
And
things.
For the most part, we don't see a lot of problems with that. I mean, it's more, some of the, just for instance, like maybe you purchase some magazines or something like that. Those are the ones that we see a lot of. That it seems like people just, the companies continue to take the money, and they either stop the service the internet service, or they've stopped the subscription, but they continue to do that. But for the most part, like, people paying we have online bill payment, which is free for our customers, and it's a great tool because the customers can go out there and pay their bills, and basically what happens is we cut a check and send it out for the customer, which is really nice because it's free. You don't have to, basically sit down and write out that check, pay for a stamp. So that's a nice thing for the customers to do. And it's, I've done it for 3 or 4 years and never really had any problems with either the money not getting there or, the other company getting access to your account. And, because a lot of people are kind of still fearful of that, can people, get to my account? We've got a lot of security measures in line that, kind of prevent that. So,
Well, I'm one of those. I just don't like to pay a bill on computer,
And a lot of people,
I'm leery about that.
But like I said, we see very little problems with that. I mean, it's very safe to do, and you can sit down and do it in a couple minutes versus sitting down and have to write out the check. So. Nice.
For those who have credit, how do you correct bad credit?
Well, the main thing that I see when somebody has, maybe had some late payments, that's going to bring your credit down. Anytime that you have a payment that's went over 30 days past due, that's when it starts reporting to the credit bureau that it's late. Up until that point, it does not show up. At that time, that really brings your credit score down. I mean, everybody has a credit score if they have established credit. Can range anywhere from 400 to 800. What we look at, basically, kind of our bottom tier on credit score is about a 640. Anything up above a 690 is the highest level to get the best interest rate. So your interest rate is affected by your credit score. So somebody that's maybe had they were 30 days past due on a credit card. That will really take a hit on their credit score, and it will stay on there. That one missed payment will stay on there, but as the months go by and you pay on time, make sure that you're getting that payment in on time, that will fall off and kind of bring the credit score back up. So,
getting back to the credit card again, you miss a month on your payment. They send out these things. Interest is only so much on your past due account. Mm-hmm. However, if you miss your payment, it may be in the teens.
Yeah, it'll go.
The percentage.
Yeah, if you miss that, let's say you have interest rate on your credit card at 10%, mm-hmm. And it goes. You miss that payment, they can raise it to 20, 25%. Not on top of that, you've got a late fee of generally about $35. So, or if you would go over the limit, they charge you a fee of generally about $35 mm-hmm. as well. So, yeah, your rate varies if if you miss those payments.
A bank can't do that, right?
We do. Fifth Third has credit card as well.
No, but okay. So on the credit card side, but on the normal credit side,
no, we on just a regular loan.
Right.
Yeah, we will not do that as far mm-hmm. as raise the interest.
So
rate.
how can credit card companies charge this tremendous amount?
It's just set out in their when you take out the credit card in the.
I know, but that portion of the credit card where it mm-hmm. talks about in case you're late, usually is in such small print that most people can't read it.
Time to read it.
And they don't have a magnifying glass to be able to read it.
They've had issues with that for. They've talked about that for years. On how can they do that?
My thing is the fine print that's on a lot of these things ought to be the same size as
a regular
loan.
Yes. When we do a loan, it's set out there. This is the APR. And everything that there's no fine print.
Yeah. Most people, as you get older, your eyesight changes, and there's a lot of people with that are wearing corrected glasses, and but it's just so to some people it looks like a line.
Yeah.
It's so small, and I think that.
I mean, to be honest with you, I don't know what different credit card companies, what they're, how they are able to do that. I'm not really
I mean, and I see it every day. I mean, you get these things in the mail anymore, every day.
5 or
almost.
6 a day.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's almost, So if you, just watch your credit. If you have bad credit, keep it up to date. Now, let's say somebody doesn't have credit. How do you establish a credit? And somebody may want to go into the bank and make a large loan or something, and they have had no credit. They've always paid everything. They have no established credit. How do you establish credit?
Well, generally the ones that I see for the most part are younger people starting out that don't have any credit history. And we kind of approach that from a couple different ways. The easiest way to do it is obviously, a parent, a grandparent or somebody like that co-signing for the loan, especially for a young person, even if it's a couple $1,000s, just to get them started out. And I would recommend that, when a person gets to the age of 18, that they try to establish some credit. We have a secured credit card, and basically what we do, set up a savings account with a credit line of $300 to $100 up to $1,000. Okay, you put that money into a savings account, and basically you just hold that money. You get the credit card. It works the same as any other credit card. You go out and use it, and you're going to get a monthly statement on it at the end of the month. Pay it off. You do that for about 8 to 12 months. You're going to create yourself, your credit score, and at that point, you could look at getting a loan. So, if you're wanting a loan, for the most part, with somebody that doesn't have any, they're probably going to have a co-signer. And like I said, generally that's mostly younger people that we see that don't really have a whole lot of established credit.
We have about 30 seconds left. And what are the pros and cons of bankruptcy in just a brief description?
They've kind of changed the bankruptcy laws, I think at the end of last year. Most of the people that are generally going out and filing bankruptcy, they've accumulated a lot of credit card debt. The pros of that, I can't say necessarily there's any pros to doing it. Some people get in trouble with maybe medical bills. In a situation, maybe they've lost a job. Sometimes you just get in a position that you have no choice. Okay, it doesn't mean the end of the world that that they had to do that, but it does stay on your credit for 10 years. So it's out there. We can actually, if somebody's filed bankruptcy, we can still make them a loan. It has to be at least 5 years since the bankruptcy. It has to be a secured loan, and so we can do that. So I guess the bad thing about it is going to be out there for 10 years. And if say they don't have anything to secure a loan with, it could create a problem for them to be able to get a loan. So
very good. John, thank you for being our guest this morning on 27 Topics. Appreciate having you. John Pierce, Fifth Third Bank Financial Center Manager, Jasper Northside.